Arrgh! Rule 81 of the Pirate Code. Never laugh at the word poop deck.
A little while ago, I teamed up with another YouTuber, ZPTV123, to make the top 12 underrated platinums list. I was surprised to see the amount of views that it had, and since then I've hit well over 300 platinum, so I thought it'd be a good time for us to pull a sequel out of our ass.
Hey guys, it is NCSFan001 here, and today I'm providing 5 entries for part 2 of the whole underrated Platinum Trophy series. So my first entry today is actually a very recent one, Choo Choo Charles. This is the basically creepypasta nightmare fuel game, or meme game as it's also known by many, where you go to an island and you have to kill this gigantic murderous spider train demon thing from hell. That I don't know what just came out of my mouth because this game is just very weird and memeable, but it is a lot of fun, and for 2 to 3 hours, it is a great Platinum Trophy experience. It's pretty easy to get the Platinum as well, and it's just a pretty fun game to play, at least that first time through. My second game today is Bugsnax. This is a PS4 and PS5 game with a partial trophy auto-pop. This is just an absolutely wonderful, lovely little game where you run around this island capturing innocent little bugs that are also part snack, hence the name Bugsnax. The game is just absolutely adorable. It's so much fun to play. I've actually 100%ed it several times at this point between both the PS4 and PS5 version and even the Switch version, just because I love the game so much and I really hope we get a sequel. And also, Bunger is the greatest, and you cannot question me on that. Entry number 3, I'm going to give this spot to Far Cry New Dawn. Now, I know that Far Cry New Dawn is one of the more questionable entries in the Far Cry franchise. A lot of people really don't like this one, but also quite a few people do, myself included. I think the game is heavily underrated. It's actually really fun to play. It's the typical Far Cry formula, but it goes to a post-apocalyptic universe, which I think actually benefited the series quite well. Not to mention the Platinum Trophy is pretty easy overall, and the game is shorter than many of the other Far Cry games, so even if you don't end up liking it, at least it's not going to take you too long to get through. Entry number 4 is Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed, though this could technically be considered almost a double entry because there's Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed for the PS5 and Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed Single Player Edition for the PS4. Both versions are very easy platinums, and the game is a lot of fun to play. Now, I will admit that when the game first came out, it was kind of a buggy mess when it first released, but since then, most of the issues have been patched, and the game is an absolute joy to play. Definitely does very good justice to the original Destroy All Humans 2, which was one of the most critical early games to this YouTube channel. And finally, we are going all the way back to the late 2000s from the PS3 era to take a quick look at Fallout 3. Now, Fallout 3 was actually the very first game I ever platinumed, and about a year or two ago, I actually re-platinumed the entire game on an alt account, not just the platinum, but also the DLC, which was a really, really fun series. So, Fallout 3 is an open-world Bethesda RPG. The Platinum Trophy is the easiest in the Fallout franchise. It's also not as time-consuming as some of the later ones. Now, the game does still show its age and its bugginess. I mean, it is a Bethesda game, so it can kind of be expected. But even to this day, I think the game still holds up, and the Platinum Trophy is just a joyful experience from start to finish, as long as nothing too crazy or stupid happens with the older technology of the game.
Alright, I'm starting with a good one. Back in 2013, James Rolfe, also known as the Angry Video Game Nerd, released a game titled The Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures. And a few years later, he released the sequel, AVGN Adventures Assimilation. I fucking get it!
He love this fat ass.
And in 2020, the games were released on all platforms in this duo game thing. I'll admit, I haven't completed this one yet because the games themselves are made to emulate the difficulty of old Nintendo games. And if you're an uncultured fuck, that means these games are hard. But the platinum is fairly easy. All you have to do is beat the 2 games along with the bonus side game and collect all the collectibles. You will also have to unlock all the secret characters such as Guitar Guy, Mike Matei, and the Bullshit Man. You know what's bullshit? The fact that you have to complete every stage without dying, but thankfully you can replay any level you want. Root Letter is an anime visual novel. Please hear me out, guys. I promise it's a really good game. Where you play as a guy who's in search of an old high school pen pal who's been missing for 15 years, after he finds an unopened letter from her saying, "I killed someone." The game is really good, but it has 5 different endings you'll need to unlock, which of course means you'll need to follow a guide and play through the game multiple times. On one of those playthroughs, you'll need to find this weird cat thing a few times, but that's about as deep as the difficulty goes for this platinum. Also, if you have a Vita, you can earn this platinum twice, but if you're a fucking lunatic with multiple Vitas and a PlayStation account for Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, and Europe, you can earn 10 platinums, just from this one fucking game. Air Race Speed is a weird space-themed racing game for the PS Vita that is way more fun than it looks. The trophy list is pretty simple, however the trophy that requires you to play through all the levels with the final jet you unlock is glitched. If you exit the game at any point while trying to get the trophy, it won't unlock, meaning you have to do it all in one sitting. However, you don't have to beat your previous time or play the endless or bonus levels. You only have to play the main courses. There's also a trophy for completing 20 stages on an endless level and a trophy for completing 5 levels without touching a wall. However, those can be unlocked on the endless level in Tier 3. Also, you can earn 3 platinums if you have separate accounts for Hong Kong and China, but you'll need 2 extra Vitas for that. Fuck yeah, Final Fantasy! Riding chocobos in the day and the chocobo rides me at night. Final Fantasy 15 is somewhat of a black sheep in the series. Though it has its fans, and I'm one of them, there are some corny moments and the game holds your hand a lot. I'd actually go as far as to say that this game is too easy, right down to the trophy list, as you'll earn the vast majority through natural gameplay. However, it is an RPG, so it's very time consuming. But if you have a few weeks to spare, this is also a game that has separate platinums for different regions. That makes 5 platinums total. Good luck, fucktards. Late Shift, or as I've written in the script, Late Shit, is one of those FMV games with no actual gameplay, only timed dialogue choices. However, you'll need a guide because there are 7 different endings, and a lot of other missable trophies. However, there's an exploit that saves time. All you have to do is exit to the main menu once you get the trophy for an ending and press continue. The game will place you at the beginning of the last chapter. Awkward is a co-op party game where the questions are designed to be as uncomfortable and personal as possible. If I'm being honest, that's a goddamn lie, because these questions are pretty tame. None of that matters because this is a fairly easy platinum that you can complete in a day. Only downsides are you'll need to complete 50 games, which will take a few hours. But you won't be able to platinum the game at all if you don't have a second controller. So if you want to force your piece of shit friend to play a game with you, grab a few drinks, bond a little bit, and maybe it'll lead to gay butt sex. Dragon Quest Builders 2 is exactly what you think it is. Dragon Quest meets Minecraft. What the fuck is Dragon Quest? I have no idea, but I picked this game up while it was on PS Plus and I enjoyed playing it. There's a lot of shit to do in this game, so the platinum is pretty grindy and time consuming. But it's another fun little game from Square Enix, and at least it's not one of those games with characters you'd want to fuck. WRC5 is one of those rally racing games, and trust me, I suck ass at them too. However, for this one, you can customize the setting, which makes the gameplay and overall platinum experience much easier. However, there's this one trophy that requires you to win a race while the settings are set to simulation mode. But if you're like me and suck absolute priest dick, all you gotta do is pick one of the shorter tracks and keep your car in first gear. There's also trophies for completing 10 online races, winning an online race, winning an offline co-op race, and a trophy for finishing every special race in quick stage mode, which is a huge pain in the ass, but that's more of a grind than anything. Based off the Capcom arcade game from the 80s, 2014 Strider is a reboot of that very game I just said. Aside from collectibles and a few missable trophies, the hardest part about this platinum is that you'll have to play through the hard difficulty, which doesn't sound too bad on paper, but need I remind you this is based off a game from the 80s? You'll also have to do a speed run for a trophy, but the deadline is very generous because, again, being based off a game from the 80s, this game is fairly short as it is. This British-ass game is another two-player game where you and your friend could take turns coming up with the best insults out of whatever given choices. The game's pretty fun, but be prepared to grind out a total of 100 duels for the "it gets boring after an hour" trophy. But you can complete those while you look out for the extremely situational missable trophies where you have to compose phrases with specific dialogue choices. You also have to mention Satan 66 times for a trophy, and all the dialogue options are randomly generated, so you can imagine this being a grind as well. But the game is cheap, so if you have a low-life friend or siblings you like to torture, you can pick this game up and earn an ultra-rare platinum. I talked about these games before on my top 15 goriest video games video, but since then I've beaten both games and I still stand by what I said in that video. These are a piece of shit games that's only purpose is to tie the first movie together with the third and fifth movies. The only reason why I put these dog shit games on this list, because there's rarely ever any video games that get released that are based off of horror movies. If you're able to find a copy of these games, I recommend picking them up. You'll have a fun time ranting about how ass these games are while earning 2 fairly easy platinums in the process. Those series of games that made other games such as You May Nikki and Super Columbine Massacre RPG released this entry on the PS4, and along came a spider who sat right beside her and scared Miss Muffet away. But for real, I don't really have anything else to say about this one. It's fucking RPG Maker. There's no missable trophies and the majority of them can be unlocked by fucking around. Today is gonna be the day that his dick is going in my ass.
That was awesome.
Resistance Burning Skies is a first-person shooter where you play as a fireman in the 1950s who needs to rescue his family during an alien invasion. I didn't know this game was part of an existing franchise until I started doing research for this video. However, I remember enjoying this game when I played it hella long ago. The trophy list is fairly simple as you'll only have to look out for collectibles and a single missable trophy. Weirdly enough, there's also an online trophy for this game that requires an online pass that costs an additional $10. That online trophy isn't anything special either, all you have to do is simply start the match and the trophy is yours.
I say, hey, we want some penis. Hey, we want some gay sex.
I want to suck your dick. Ah, ah, ah.
This is your left, that's your left. This is your left, that's your left. This is your right, that's your right. This is your right, you're gonna die.
Hey, this is some good TV.
I forgot to make a graphic for this entry, but this spot goes to NASCAR Unleashed all the way back on the PS3. This game is really fun, and for a licensed racing game, it's actually pretty easy platinum. The hardest part would have to be earning gold in all the time trials, but if you save them for when you complete the campaign, it won't be too taxing. You'll also need a second controller for some split screen trophies.
And finally, as a quick honorable mention, we have Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. There's both an original version and the Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon Classic Edition on PS4. Both versions have identical trophies. The reason this one is not getting listed with the rest of the games is, well, it's twofold for when we've already done a Far Cry game, and more importantly, this one doesn't actually have a platinum trophy. But man, is this game fun. If you like any sort of cyberpunk setting with some good Far Cry gameplay, some classic 80s cheesy dialogue, and just outright fun stupidity, this is the kind of game for you. Definitely pick this one up, definitely give it a try. It's about a 7 or 8 hour 100% and it's not particularly difficult at all. It's just an absolute joy from start to finish.
Cum is my favorite breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I love cum!
I'm a half brother and my fully fledged friend. We parties forever from beginning to the end. I'm a half brother and my fully